This is Charm City Decoded. I am your host, Sophina Turner, and I welcome you all back to a new episode. Now, this episode is centered around a very sensitive topic. It's about sexual assault. And the title of this episode is centered around powerful people and accountability. So let's get into it. Um, what is sexual assault? If some not sure what it is, sexual assault is when one person overpowers another person against their will and sexually and have sex with them or fondle them in some way, whether it's their breast area or private part area, or make them fondle them in a sexual manner against their will. So that's what sexual assault is. We know sexual assault occurs every single day. There's a lot of cases out there centered around sexual assault, rape victims, molestation. So we want to have a discussion about it. We know recently it's been a topic about Sean Combs, nickname P. Diddy. He's been in the industry, the music industry, the entertainment business, I think since 1992 or 1993. I believe he started his Bad Boys records / entertainment business back in 1993. I know he started off as an intern with another big company, record company, back then before he even started his own record label. So he's been in the business for quite some years, more than 3 decades, I would say, when you think about it. And he has established himself as an icon. You know, he's really big in the music industry. But recently, there's been a young lady who was formerly his girlfriend, as well as she was once signed to his record label. Her name is Cassie. Her first name, her real name, let me make sure I'm saying it correctly, is Cassandra Ventura. She's 37 years old. P. Diddy, Sean Combs, is 54 years old currently. She, I believe, was signed to his record label in 2006. They met, I believe, in 2005. They started a relationship in 2007. They had a relationship that lasted up to almost 11 years. And she filed a recent civil lawsuit against Sean Combs. Now, she stated that allegedly he physically abused her, and I'm going to read because I wrote it down. He allegedly physically abused her, forced her to have sex with other men while he watched through the course of their relationship. And he raped her in 2018 toward the end of their relationship by forcing his way into her place. Now, she was, if I'm not mistaken, she was 19 years old when they first met each other. And Mr. Combs was in his 30s. So to me, right there, I was like, okay, sir, don't you think you're a little too old for her? But I digress because this is not about the age thing, because at that time, she still was consensual. But the thing is, she also was signed to his record label. So in my opinion, and some of this is going to be based on my opinion, I'm going to read to you the facts, but this is my opinion. That was a conflict of interest. For you to start a relationship, a romantic relationship with this young lady, who was only 19, 20 years old, after you already signed her to your record label. So not only do you have, I would say, because she's young, she's trying to get into the industry, she's trying to, reach her goals, and hopefully her dreams will come true through the signing of to Bad Boy Records. So she's very impressionable too at that time, not knowing too much about the business, I'm sure, at 19, 20 years old, especially since she's just getting into the business. Mr. Combs been in business for several years by then. And I think, to me, he had that power of persuasion, also being as big as he was, back in 2005, 6, 7, around the time frames that they met. She got signed to him and then started this relationship. So, to me, you had the power of her career in your hands. And then you start a romantic relationship with her, where now you have even more power over her romantically. So, now this is allegedly that he did these acts, but when she filed this civil lawsuit, which is a $30 million lawsuit, he settled out of court. One day after filed lawsuit, Diddy settled out of court. And then not too long after that, multiple accusers stepped forward detailing their own sexual assault allegations against Diddy. So he stepped down, I believe, from Volt. He has settled out of court paying Cassie the $30 million. And now other victims are coming forward. How has this man gotten away with it all these years? And I'm sure there have been witnesses to this act of violence toward her. Of course, if it's true that he watched her have sex with he paid other men to have sex with her. I mean, of course, there are other people who's aware of this act, of how he treated her. So for him to settle out of court, now I understand his attorney states that by no means that don't mean that he's guilty because he's settling out of court. But I know someone like me, and I understand he has a lot at stake. He got a lot of investments. He got a lot of, partnerships and things of that nature that's, that helped to create his brand. I understand that. But at the same time, if I was in his shoes, now I'm talking about a personal perspective, if I was in his shoes, I would have been fighting to the very end. He's a billionaire. He can afford to fight it out in court. You got to come with some concrete evidence and facts to support what you're stating when it comes down to me. If you claiming that I did this to you and I did that to you, and I know for a fact that's not true, then I would be fighting. So you make your own observation off of that. What do you think? But again, powerful people and accountability. So with this being said, let me read you also that it's a new state law in New York that in this state law, let me make sure I'm reading it correctly. Well, it's a state law that was just, I believe, signed this year in New York City. In New York, the state of New York. Excuse me. And it's for anyone to file a civil law. They can file a civil lawsuit if they pass the time as far as a criminal charge is being activated for their assault. If it's past that time, if that time has expired, then you now also can file a civil lawsuit against your perpetrator. The law itself is called Adult Survivors Act. That's the name of the law, Adult Survivors Act. And that's currently in New York City. So that's why Ms. Ventura was able to file this lawsuit against Diddy off of what he has done to her. So, again, even with her winning in that respects, she also stated that she has memory loss now because it was drugs. She also had got hooked on drugs due to this assault over this more than a decade of abuse, and now she's dealing with that. She's dealing with the memory of the assault. She also now have memory loss because of the drug addiction because of the assault. So this is something that she's going to be experiencing for the rest of her life. So $30 million, do you really think that that's vindication enough for what she has endured? Now, I know there are some out there who feel that why now? Why is she coming forward now? And my question to you is why not? A person who's been assaulted sexually, physically, it doesn't matter how the assault occurred. If you are ready to come forward 10 years later, then come forward. You come ready. You come and seek vindication when you're ready. Because it's you that went through this experience. So when you're ready to come forward, that's when you come forward. Yes, anyone who's aware of anyone who's been assaulted in any way, please, yes, be there for them. Help them to come forward where they can get some type of vindication by going to the law, going to the police to file this claim. Try to get some type of retribution back from the hurt and pain that was caused to them. I mean, I definitely will encourage anyone who's aware of someone who has experienced, any type of sexual assault. You have children who be assaulted every day. This is how sick some people who feel that they have this power over this individual. You have people who have sexually assaulted babies, infants, toddlers, little small children, 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. It goes on and on and on. You have ancestral things that's going on inside of. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors in people's homes. I would suggest any parent who is a parent, anyone who is a parent, let me say this. And I'm a parent myself. I'm a grandparent as well. If you have any children that are young, just be more mindful of who is around your child, who you let in your home around your child, who home you allowed your child to go over, the care that you place your child in if they play in sports. You just got to be mindful of everything. Anyone who's coming to your home for a party, it could be a family member, and your child shy away from that person, don't want to be around that person, be attentive to what's going on. Find out why that is. If your child confess that this happened to them, believe them until you see otherwise. There have been parents out here who've been informed of the abuse that their child had experienced and did not believe them because I guess they had so much low self-esteem of themselves. And some of these women out here who are mothers took the man's side over their child. because the man may have been taking care of them, supporting them. They didn't want to lose that. So they accepted and allowed for that man to stay after that child confessed what's been happening to them. You have those stories too. So just be mindful and watchful of what's going on. Love your child unconditionally and at all costs protect them. That's what I would suggest to anyone out there who's a parent, male or female. You know, we've had stories out here of powerful people, some in the spotlight, some not. Some of the ones that's not really in the spotlight, that's not like an entertainer, you know, you have priests or reverends or pastors that have been, uh, that has, have pedophilia issues, that has raped, molested. There was a story a few years ago about a young man. I believe he was in his 20s, mid 20s or so, and he was molested as a child, raped as a child by a priest at one of these Catholic churches. And I know we all have heard stories about sometimes what happens in Catholic churches. But this particular young man, I guess he couldn't deal with the pain no more, knowing that that person was still out here and nothing has happened to him. So he took it upon himself to kill that priest. It made the news. That's how I learned of it. You know, you have pastors who have had sex with their own daughter in church. You know, it was one in Atlanta, I believe, a black pastor. So, believe me, race, it don't matter what your race is. You have a lot of powerful people who have power over individuals in some respects or another, whether it's through their faith, their career, romantic relationship. It doesn't matter. They have the power over this other individual and they know they have it, so they use it to their advantage. And they don't think nothing will ever happen to them. That's why they continue to abuse them. And a person that's being abused don't know what to do or how to get out of it. But believe me, in their mind, they're trying to figure out how to get out of it. But they just can't quite understand how to get themselves from that position after they allow for themselves to be in that position, for the ones who are adults. Because there are a lot of adults out here who are being sexually abused. You know, prisons have been known to do that. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. What is the root of all evil? The root to all evil? They say money, power, and sex. Money, power, and sex is the root to all evil. Yeah, it is. You know, look what's going on with, and I'm going to say this too out loud. Sex trafficking is real. Human trafficking is real. There are children out here, teenagers out here who are being kidnapped every day. And they are thrown into that ring of sex trafficking. And in a lot of respects, there's a lot of high up people with plenty of money who are purchasing these people and doing what they want with these young people. Yeah. Power and accountability. And speaking of more power, let's look at our former president of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, the 44th president, who has been known to be a mogul in the real estate business. He's been in the real estate business for a long time. It was passed down from his father to him. Hmm. He also was a reality. He hosted the TV show The Apprentice from 2004 to 2017, and yeah. Now, it's his victim where he was found guilty this year, 2023. Her name, Miss E. Jean Carroll. She filed a sexual assault claim against Mr. Trump and won the case. She won the case. She was awarded $5 million. He was found guilty or liable for sexual assault and defamation. It happened back in, it was in New York. I believe it happened in 1996. And she was in a department store, a clothing store back then when he assaulted her. So he was found liable. Yes, 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 he was. Ain't that something? You know, he been a rich, spoiled person his whole life. So most rich, spoiled people who get away, who been getting away with, who been catered to and get away with whatever they choose to do. Of course, now he's being held accountable. We have to pay that $5 million. But is that enough? Is he really being held accountable? Statute of limitation, of course, is passed. But yes, she was awarded $5 million. Okay, but is that enough? What y'all think? Let me know in the comments what y'all think about what I'm talking about. Did he he settled and paid and Cassie $30 million. Miss Carroll, she won her case, and Mr. Trump got to pay her $5 million. Is money enough? Is it? I mean, yeah, it would help them to get through a lot of things that they still probably have to seek counseling for. Because abuse is abuse, and that stays with you forever. That's something you don't ever forget, ever. So the money part can help in that respect, but what about just constantly, that memory is there. It never leaves you. You try to move on and keep on trying to live your life and working through and hopefully have more happier moments thereafter than sad moments, but it's still there. The trust, the distrust is there. It's kind of fully hard for you to fully trust anyone after you've been assaulted in any way, especially sexually assaulted. So were they held accountable enough? What you think? Then you have other sexual assault individual who's in that spotlight. You got Mr. R. Kelly. Over 20 plus years, he was sexually assaulting young girls. He's been a singer since 1989. His popularity grew because he's a very, very talented man. R. Kelly, he was one of the best. One of the best singers, songwriters, just showmanship. Yeah. Handsome guy. But he was a predator. He was a predator. Now he's serving time. So I would say, yeah, I guess he's being held accountable. But I guess, is that enough? I mean, who knows what's really, truly enough? Because these young ladies that he assaulted and held hostage to some degree, that's something that they got to live with for the remainder of their life. But at least he is currently serving time. He got some years, I believe 20 plus years. So he got some years he got to, be in there for. Then you have Mr. Bill Cosby, comedian, actor, who been in the business since 1961. You know, he this is how Jello Man. This how Fat Albert creator. This Mr. Cosby. Mr. Cosby is Mr. Heathcliff Huxtable. Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable. You know, but they're human at the end of the day. They're not perfect, but he was a predator too, and that's even based off of what he stated back in 2005 when he admitted to drugging women. It was a signed, I believe, affidavit that he signed that's supposed to be sealed, and that was off of a deal that was made, I think, for by the state's attorney at the time. That's why he really wasn't supposed to sign. He wasn't supposed to actually serve time because of that. But the prosecutor that came afterwards went after him, and he was able to serve. He did serve 3 years. He could have served up to 10, and that's what got him out on that technicality because they went against the original agreement. And I'm not sitting here to say that some women don't tell fables. Some people don't tell fables. Yes, they do. There are great storytellers out here that's full of untruths. Yes, it is. And that can overshadow the ones who are being truthful, who are living in their truth. So we got to believe until they show us otherwise. That's what I would suggest. Now we have Mr. Kevin Spacey. If y'all remember back a few years back, Kevin Spacey was a young man that came forward where at the time he was 17, 16, 17. Mr. Kevin Spacey, I believe, supposed to have forced his way on him. Now, Mr. Spacey apologized. He don't remember that happening, but he said if it happened, I apologize. Is that enough? Is that holding him accountable? I don't know how old the young man was when he came forward a few years ago, but I know he was grown. He was fully grown by then. But it happened to him. That's what he claimed. You have Mr. Stephen Collins, if anyone remembers Seventh Heaven. He came out of his own mouth saying, yes, he sexually assaulted 3 young girls. One in the 1970s and 2 more, I believe, in the 1990s. 2 or 3 more, or something like that. He said it in an interview. I believe it was a CBS interview. Y'all can research that. And he was not held accountable for nothing he said. I believe charges was that someone came forward to claim he did this and an investigation allegedly happened. That's what they said. But nothing came from it. He ain't served no time. Never went to court. Was he held accountable for his own confessions? That's crazy, right? It's crazy. Then we got, the juicy one. Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. Or is it Epstein? However you pronounce it. Epstein. The billionaire. Self-made billionaire. Of sex trafficking girls. Young girls. He started in the 1980s. Yes, he did. He'd been associated with Trump. Donald Trump Sr. He'd been associated with the prince, one of the prince that's over in Wales. He wasn't that the Prince of Wales, not Charles, but I believe it was either his brother. I believe it was his brother Anthony. He allegedly was at one of those parties that Epstein used to throw, and assaulted a young girl at the time. I think they said she was 13. 13. 13, between 13 and 15, the young girl was. I know she was younger than 18. I definitely know that. Yeah. And don't forget they have, and he used to be my favorite president, Bill Clinton. You know, they say he was our first black president. But his name was thrown out there of attending one of those, well, associating with Mr. Epstein in some way. Was he at one of those parties? Powerful people and accountability. Let's protect our babies. Let's protect our children. Let's love them. Help them to understand that they are loved, they are wanted, they're needed, they are worthy of everything good out here in the world. Everything that's good, they deserve it. Any goals that they set for themselves, they deserve it. They just got to work toward, reaching it. But let them know their value, that they are important. They are wanted. They are loved. They are needed. Let's do that. And protect them with everything you got for as long as you can. Start, putting things in place to help them to see that you're here even when you're not here. You're going to be there to protect them no matter what. Let's believe in our children and trust our children. This is Charm City Decoded. I'm your host, Sophina Turner, and I bid you all a good day.